Good morning. Good morning. Got to get my glasses on today. First, I would like to thank Carter G. Wilson for getting together with the people that allowed us to have Black History Month. So like what Art was saying, they gave us the shortest month, but thank God they gave us a month. Because if you knew at the time this country was hard-hearted with racial tension, we had just become free maybe 40 or 50 years before we did this. And so that's a big step of trying to give us something. But now, if I had to call the roll for myself this morning, I would say Nat Turner, Martin Luther King Jr., and Rosa Parks. Those were the three peoples that influenced me more in Black history than any other. Now, it was plenty. Now, I could call the roll now. It was plenty Black peoples that did things in Black history for Black history. But those three peoples, to me, influenced the world the most. Now, I'm going to talk briefly this morning on Nat Turner. And if y'all remember in school, they didn't like for you to talk about Nat Turner. I almost got in trouble in the 11th grade with my history teacher talking about Nat Turner. And so I said this morning, since Miss McGee is gone to rest, that I will speak on Nat Turner today. So I'm not going to be long, but I want to just say some things that Nat Turner did to change the world. Yeah. At first, I want to read this. Nat Turner was either a hero or a madman. That's how they stated this now. He either was a hero or a madman. Hero for us, madman for them. Turner led a violent insurrection against white in Southampton County, Virginia. Its repercussions spurred major debate over slavery that eventually ignited the Civil War. That Turner said he felt the pain and horror of slaves like him who had been kidnapped, raped, abused, and tortured. So he set out his band of insurgents and killed at least 55 white families. Now, in this insurrection, stirred slave owners to increase atrocities on hundreds of blacks who remained in bondage in order to teach any would-be Nat Turner a lesson. Okay, so it goes on to say, Nat Turner, the madman, he was born in 1800 in Southampton, Virginia. He ran away from slavery at the age of 21, but he returned to his master, not to serve his master, but to get his ministry that he was doing at the plantation. And he thought he was put here for a reason. He thought God had sent him for a reason. He thought he was sent to go against slavery. Understand now, during slavery, he was beaten, took away all his rights. His mama sold, his sister sold, brother sold. He had no say so. But he one person that was willing to die to abolish slavery. In doing so, he felt that they had an eclipse, and he thought that was a sign that he must do something. So he didn't do nothing at the time, but he thought about it. He visioned what he had to do. So August the 22nd in 1831, the sun turned blackish, bluish, and he thought that was the sign for him to take off and do what he had to do. So he had 7 people to go with him, and they talked out their plans. He went down in the woods, talked out his plan. And the 7 went from, well, they went to the the master home, killed him and his family, and went to 55 more other houses and did the same thing. But now when he did this caused great problems in Virginia. They sent in soldiers as far as North Carolina to Virginia to kill innocent black people for what Nat Turner had did. But after he heard of all of this they were doing to innocent people, he returned. Give himself up. Well, you know what they were going to do. They hung him. They hung Nat Turner. But it still didn't stop the abolitionists from trying to do away with slavery. So after Nat Turner was hung, people still put in the newspapers and everything about what had happened. But it put fear in the masters hard. And a lot of white people throughout the United States, not just the South, the North too. So what they start doing is stopping black people's right. They already didn't have no, but they cut the little ones they had off, like going hunting. Now, it's a thing now where if they see a bunch of blacks together, sometimes the police will pull up and say, what's going on? I'm talking about this today. So you can imagine back then, if the slaves got together, they were thinking it was going to be another insurrection. So they killed a lot of slaves now during this time. But this led to fight slavery. This led up to the Civil War. I mean, this got to be the Civil War. I mean, the teachers didn't teach you this in school. They were saying this happened and this happened to cause the Civil War. But Civil War was really all about slavery. The South wanted to keep slavery because who's picking the cotton, the tobacco? Slaves, free labor. So they were willing to die. I'm talking about die before they gave us our freedom. So with all of Nat Turner doing, he might have been hung, but what he did encouraged the blacks and scared the whites that this may happen again. So in the North, they abolished slavery, but in the South, they didn't want it to happen. So what they did, they forced black people to leave their home. Now, understand, I'm telling you to leave, but you ain't got nowhere to go. We done set up boundaries where you can't leave the state, but you got to leave my place. So you had a lot of black people that got killed, hung, and some of them went back to other peoples and were slaves. But they didn't lay this out like that to me in school. And you know, everything they taught me, it was, the white was good people. Even though they beat my great granddaddy and forced him to leave his wife, but they was good people. They didn't, this the argument me and Mrs. McGee had. Don't say that against them, and don't say Nat Turner was a hero. But my thing is, why couldn't he be a hero? I know he did some killing now. He did some killing and understanding. But look at the killing they had done. People don't look at that now. They killed 3,000. He killed 55. Now look at the difference. Now, and he was a slave fighting for freedom. So when you think about Nat Turner, the reason I said Nat Turner, Martin Luther King, and Rosa Parks, they did damaging things to the civil rights and brought on civil rights. Some people look at it and born today thinking they could always go to school with white kids. They always could go in the front door. But it just maybe 52 years. You couldn't go into the restaurant in Newnan. This 52 years ago. Just think now what was happening in the 1800s. If you walked in a restaurant with some white people, where they gonna hang you immediately? If you don't believe it, go to the museum in Montgomery. And they got things that people got hung for. Like walking by a place where somebody was taking a bath. Walking by it now. Not going in it, walk by it, you get home. So I just say this about Nat Turner, get back on him. People don't speak on him much, but now, as far as I'm concerned, he the one that started the ball rolling. I mean, he started the fight in the freedom of slavery, because if they wouldn't have never had the Civil War, hate to say it, but some of you'll still be picking cotton. I mean, just look at it. Look at what's going on today. At today, now I'm talking about, we talking about Nat Turner in the 1800s. Here it is, 2023. So if some of you would, that interested in history, take time and read about Nat Turner, because he deserved to be talked about more than what we're doing. We don't never see nobody acting like Nat Turner, because they're like, that's what they don't want you to do. But now I don't want you to go out and destroy no families. Now I don't want to do that now. But what I'm saying is, think about at the time Nat Turner come up, what he had to go through as a slave. He was willing to die and show that he wasn't going to stay no slave. Now, he was just 31 years old, 31. And some more died with him, but you got to look at what he did to sacrifice to get us where we is today. Now, he started the ball rolling. There's plenty more. Like I said, if I call the roll, I'll be up here 2 or 3 years. But now, I just said those three names: Nat Turner, Martin Luther King, and Rosa Parks. And I'm going to leave it with this. Now, history is made next Sunday. We got two blacks, quarterback, going against each other in the Super Bowl. Had never been done. I mean, when I come up, you would have never thought it would happen. They didn't think we had the intelligence to play the quarterback position. I don't care how far you threw a ball or whatever you did, you'll be a safety, cornerback, linebacker. You weren't going to play the quarterback position. But now, if you look at the history, they taking over. They taking over the NFL, black quarterback. So I'm going to leave you with this. This is Black History Month, but I want you all to use every month, every day, and think about black history. Just because they gave us 28 days, we can take 365. I mean, they're not going to do it. They're not going to let you do it, but you can do it yourself now. You don't have to sit back and let them tell you that you can celebrate black history. Because I'm going to do it till I leave the world. I love black history, and I like the people that died trying to get it through that we had our rights. So if you think about Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, like I said, that was some daring things she did when she wouldn't give up a seat. And I remember we catch the bus from right there on Atlanta Highway to town. You paid a nickel or a dime to catch the bus from Atlanta Highway, right there at Atlanta Highway to town on Saturday. You had to stand up. I don't care how many seats was available. You had to stand up. And so just look where we done come from. And I'm not intending to go back. Thank you all.